Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Rundown. We're going to go over the MLB games scheduled for Sunday, July 14th, 2024. And if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comment section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, including my daily rundown best bet in the MLB, you can find those at the premium picks tab at pickdawgz.com. There's also a link in the description. Alrighty, here we go. Here are the games, the final day of the first half of the MLB season. First up, it's the Roku game between the New York Yankees and the Baltimore Orioles. Dean Kramer and Carlos Rodon are your starters. Dean Kramer has struggled at Camden Yards at times in his career. So far this year, an ERA above 6.5. We saw him, last start against the Cubs, 5 earned runs, 7 total runs in 4 innings and a 9-2 Cubs win. I do think the Yankees can get to him for a few runs, and Carlos Rodon may not be my favorite option right now, but the Orioles have not been anything special against left-handed pitching recently. I honestly think the Yankees have the better bullpen. At least, recently, this Yankees bullpen, at the beginning of the season, we mentioned the regression concerns because their expected numbers weren't great, but recently they are, sharpening up that xFIP, and I'm more willing to take the Yankees in a full game than, just the first 5 innings. I'm going to go with the Yankees on the money line in this one. Next up, we see the Kansas City Royals taking on the Boston Red Sox. Brady Singer and Brian Bayo are your starters. We've mentioned that Singer's been better at Kauffman Stadium in his career, but recently on the road, he's pitched well. His last game at Coors Field, a very tough place to pitch. He went 7 innings, a 1-run ball with 7 strikeouts in a 10-1 Royals win. Even the previous road start to that one back on June 21st against the defending World Series champions, he went 5 innings of 1-run balls. So he started to pitch a lot better on the road. He's pitched well at Fenway Park in his career with, I believe, 2 starts and a sub-3 ERA. Bayo's not been great this season, an ERA above 5 on the year. Gave up 5 earned runs in that last game against Oakland. I know he had 11 strikeouts, but still, to me, when you look at his numbers at Fenway Park, an ERA above 6.5 and 34 1/3 innings with an opponent's batting average above 300. I got to go with the Royals in this game on the money line. Next up, the Oakland Athletics taking on the Philadelphia Phillies. Joey Estes for Oakland, no official starter for the Phillies. I'll lean towards the Phillies in this one on the run line. Not my favorite game on the board. We're going to expect the Phillies to be a big favorite in this spot. Estes, I'd much rather take him in the 8th when he's pitching at home. On the road, he just hasn't pitched well this year. 28 2/3 innings, 29 earned runs away from home. That's a 9.1 ERA. He's got a 1-4 record, a 3.14 opponent's batting average. Now, when he's pitching at home in 28 1/3 innings, he's got a 182 opponent's batting average and a sub-2 ERA. So he's just been a lot better when he's pitching at the Coliseum. But on the road here, I got to go with the Phillies and lay the 1.5 runs. Next up, we see the Cleveland Guardians taking on the Tampa Bay Rays. Ben Lively and Ryan Pepiot are your starters. Now, when you look at the home and road splits, Pepiot's been better on the road this season. However, Pepiot's last 2 home starts against the Mariners and Yankees, he pitched really well. It was a combined 11 innings, 2 earned runs only, 5 base hits, not too bad, 15 strikeouts, no home runs given up. I think he pitches well in this game. The Guardians are a tough matchup, but I think the Rays are going to give him some run support. Ben Lively, we've mentioned the regression concerns at the beginning of the season. He has pitched well overall this year, but now we're starting to see him give up a lot of sharp contact. In that last game against the Tigers, the Guardians were up, I believe, 6-0. They made a comeback because Lively gave up 6 earned runs and 2 home runs and 7 base hits to go with it. He's given up at least 1 bomb in 4 of his last 5 starts. I'm going to go with the Rays in this game on the money line at Tropicana Field. Next up, the Colorado Rockies taking on the New York Mets. German Marquez makes his season debut. Jose Quintana on the other side for the Mets. Marquez is really the ace of this staff when he's healthy, and we've seen him pitch at an all-star level. He's a former all-star for Colorado. He started the year on the IL. He had quite a few rehab outings across different levels of minor league ball, single A, double A, triple A, and didn't really pitch too well in those rehab outings. 19 innings of work, a 7.1 ERA. The base hits really piled up. 26 hits given up in those 19 innings, but he still had 24 strikeouts, and the walks weren't too bad, 2.4 walks per 9 in those rehab starts. So really, I think we're going to see a decent outing from Marquez. I think the Mets can get to him for a few runs, certainly, but I also don't really love Jose Quintana on the other side. And the Rockies have been solid against left-handed pitching in the last month. So when you look at Quintana, he's got a decent ERA on paper, but the expected numbers are not great. Some of the worst in all of Major League Baseball, honestly, for starting pitching. So I'm going to go with the Colorado Rockies here, plus the 1.5 runs on the run line. I think they keep it close. Next up, the Miami Marlins taking on the Cincinnati Reds. We're going to see Trevor Rogers and Nick Lodolo, a pair of lefties on the mound in this one. Not my favorite game on the board. I don't really love the fact that Lodolo's not been pitching deep into ball games recently. 3 2/3 and 4 2/3 last two starts, and both of those were at Great American. And we've mentioned that we don't really love backing him at home, where he's got better numbers on the road this season. ERA at 2.27. At Great American, it's up to above 4 in 42 innings. The opponent's batting average about 100 points higher as well. I just don't really love this Marlins lineup. That's the key for me. I maybe would take a chance with an underdog in a spot like this, but Rogers has been one of the least profitable pitchers in baseball. The Marlins bullpen isn't great, and Miami's numbers against lefties in the last month have been dreadful. So I got to go with the Reds in this game and a lean on the run line. Next up, we see the Pittsburgh Pirates taking on the Chicago White Sox. Mitch Keller for Pittsburgh, no official starter for the White Sox. Mitch Keller bounced back in a big way in that last game against the Mets. He was at 8 innings of 2-run ball, 6 strikeouts, no walks, and an 8-2 Pirates win. And the Pirates are 3-1 in his last 4 starts. I think he pitches well here against a weak White Sox lineup that in the last 30 days is dead last in Major League Baseball in team OPS against righties. The White Sox bullpen, I think it's been a little bit better over the last couple of weeks, but still not a bullpen I trust long term. I'm going to go with the Pirates in this game on the money line and run line on the road. Next up, we see the Texas Rangers taking on the Houston Astros. No official starter for Houston, but Ronel Blanco should be going for the Astros. Blanco's pitched well this year, 2.53 ERA, 103 innings of work, a successful first half of the season. The Astros are 4-1 in his last 5 games, so he's in good form, giving up 3 earned runs or fewer in his last 5 starts. I think Blanco pitches well enough for the Astros to grab a win here at home, an important win to end the first half of the season, so give me Houston on the money line. Next up, we see the Milwaukee Brewers taking on the Washington Nationals. We're going to see Jake Irvin and Colin Ray as the projected starters. The Nationals are actually top 10 in baseball in team OPS against right-handed pitching in the last month, while Milwaukee's ranked 24th. So while both pitchers are coming off bad outings, Irvin gave up 6 earned runs against the Mets, Ray 7 earned against the Pirates. I trust Irvin a little bit more as a starting pitcher in this game. Ray expected numbers aren't great. And like I just said, the Nationals, numbers against righties have been solid, a low strikeout rate to go with it. I'm going to go with the Washington Nationals in the first 5 innings in this one on the road. Next up, we see the Chicago Cubs taking on the St. Louis Cardinals. Jameson Taillon and Miles Mikolas are your starters. Both starting pitchers in solid form, but Taillon especially. His last 5 games, all quality starts for Chicago. 3-1 in his last 4 games, and those includes wins over the Orioles, Phillies, and Mets, 2 winning teams, and then a team like the Mets who are surging in the late first half. So Taillon's in great form, racking up the strikeouts. He's also pitched well against St. Louis this season. The same thing goes for Mikolas against the Cubs. He's pitched well against Chicago with 2 solid outings. So I like the under in the first 5 innings. I don't really love the bullpens in a game like this because they're coming off the doubleheader, but I like both starting pitchers. I think we see a low-scoring game at the beginning, especially at Busch Stadium, and I lean towards the Cubs in the first 5 innings as well. Next up, the Minnesota Twins taking on the San Francisco Giants. Chris Paddock and Blake Snell are your starters. I do think eventually Blake Snell's going to get back to form. I don't know about Cy Young level form, but still a very good option in this Giants rotation. But this is just a really bad matchup because Snell was really good in that last game against Toronto. He had 5 innings of shutout baseball, but he only had 3 strikeouts. We know Snell is a very much so strikeout-dependent starting pitcher, so to only see those 3 Ks in 5 innings, a little bit concerning when you add the 3 walks to the equation as well, and you look at the fact that the Minnesota Twins are just crushing left-handed pitching in the last month. Now, Kyle Harrison put together a really good outing against Minnesota, so you have to take that into consideration, but the Twins are still number 1 in baseball in the last month against left-handed pitching, and it's not even really close. Low strikeout rate, pretty high walk rate to go with it. I think to get the Snell for a few runs, Chris Paddock may not be my favorite option, especially away from home, but he's in decent form. His last 2 starts, 3 earned runs or fewer in those games, and 3 of his last 4 as well. So I'm going to go with the Minnesota Twins in this game on the money line on the road. Next up, we see the Atlanta Braves taking on the San Diego Padres. Chris Sale and Randy Vasquez are your starters. To me, a lopsided pitching matchup. Chris Sale's been one of the better starting pitchers in the first half of the season in all of baseball. And he faces a Padres team that's not been great offensively down the stretch, especially against left-handed pitching. Sale's got good career numbers against the San Diego hitters, so I think Sale pitches well. I think he goes 6-7 strong innings. Randy Vasquez, the expected numbers are not great. Some of one of the highest expected ERAs in all the starting pitchers in Major League Baseball. I know he's been a lot better at Petco Park and has been decent recently, but he doesn't have great numbers against the current Braves lineup. I think Atlanta gets to him for a few runs early, and it should be enough for a Braves win and run line cover. So give me Atlanta in this one. Next up, we see the Seattle Mariners taking on the Los Angeles Angels. Logan Gilbert for Seattle, no official starter for the Halos. With no official starter listed, I'm just going to isolate this game to the Angels matchup offensively. against Logan Gilbert. And I actually think the Angels can get to him for a few runs. They have pretty good career numbers against Logan Gilbert. When you look at the 48 plate appearances, it's a pretty small sample size, but something to look at, for Gilbert against the Angels, a sub 20% strikeout rate for a strikeout-dependent guy, a 629 expected slugging percentage, 326 expected batting average. Pretty steep numbers there for the Angels, and they've been competitive in this series offensively. I think we see him get to Gilbert for a few runs early, add a run or two on the bullpen as well. I like the team total over for the Angels in this one. And the final game for the first half of the Major League Baseball season is the Toronto Blue Jays and the Arizona Diamondbacks. Yusei Kikuchi and Zach Gallen are your starters. Kikuchi, 13 strikeouts, a new career high for him in that last game against San Francisco. 7 in the third innings, 2 earned runs, makes it back-to-back strong outings for Kikuchi. And I think he pitches well. I mean, Arizona's numbers against lefties have really fell off. Recently the strikeout rate's going up. It's now at 23.4%, which is a lot steeper than it was at the beginning of the season. The isolated power numbers, some of the worst in baseball in the last month. So I think Kikuchi puts together another strong outing. Gallen, not been the best so far in its first few starts back from injury. The first game was excellent against Oakland. The last two against the Braves and the Dodgers, not so much. I still think Gallen pitches well. I mean, Toronto's not necessarily an offensive juggernaut this year. So I think Gallen pitches well. I think Kikuchi pitches well. I think we go under the total. But I would lean towards Toronto here, getting a really good price on the money line. I think there's value with Toronto as far as the side. And that's it. Those are the games for the Sunday card in Major League Baseball. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. Put those baseball picks in the comment section below. And again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium. As always, this is Ron Romanelli. Good luck.